Even though seasoned fighters may believe they have seen it all, you may watch 1,000 battles and never see one of these submissions performed flawlessly in person. As usual, in order to ensure that you don't miss anything, please let us know if you appreciate this video by clicking the like button and subscribing. Now, without further ado, these are a few of the rarest submits in MMA history, listed in no particular order. Number 10. The Calf Slicer. Look, there's no other way to say it. Calf slicers just give us the chills. If you know anything about legs and how they're meant to function, the calf slicer takes the rulebook and pretty much rips it up. Legs are not meant to bend like that. And every time someone manages to pull off this technique in MMA, it always leaves their opponents in quite a lot of pain before the tap eventually comes. Admittedly, it's a pretty cool set of motions that causes the calf slicer to have its effect, but even someone unfamiliar with jiu-jitsu will take one look at this and immediately understand exactly where the pain is coming from. Those cows certainly get sliced when this submission makes an appearance. Number 9. The Peruvian neck D. This one was just some insanely clean work from Pat Curran. After finding himself in the perfect position to start looking for a darts choke, Curran decided to throw everyone for a loop and hop his legs over his opponent's head, catching him in a rare Peruvian necktie. It was an excellent display of grappling from Curran and a technique that we surprisingly don't see used more often in MMA. It's a great submission with an awesome setup and a pretty badass name, so what's not to love? Number 8. The Von Flue Choke. On the long list of very sneaky and hard-to-spot submissions, the Von Flue Choke is one that really could cause some confusion if you don't know what you're looking for. The move is used as a direct counter to an opponent's guillotine choke, and involves using the shoulder pressure provided by your adversary's ill-advised submission attempt as a means of locking them into a choke that they can't escape from. It's a rare move in MMA, but it's a sign of a good commentator or official when they see a potential Von Flue Choke playing out, and this particular instance of the Von Flue Choke is so sneaky, in fact, that the referee actually needed to be told that the fight was over. And if this fight's victor wasn't such a good guy, this could have gotten very, very ugly. Just a great level of composure and awareness from Chad George. Number 7. The Twister. You knew it would make an appearance eventually. The Twister is one of the rarest submissions in MMA, period. Developed by Eddie Bravo over at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu as a means of giving an extra option from the back, the Twister has become something of a white whale within the sport. A rare technique that only the most foolhardy of fighters will even attempt, and this execution of the Twister from Angela Lee was just perfect, and the level of force she got behind it gave her opponent next to no chance of breaking out once it was locked in. To this day, nailing a Twister at any level is going to result in your name going viral, and despite it being around a decade since it was first pulled off in the UFC courtesy of Chang Sung Jung, only one other person has managed to earn a win with this submission, and Bryce Mitchell got that one. A very, very rare technique. Number 6. The Gogo Plata. To people who don't have the flexibility to pull off this submission, the idea of this being anatomically possible is going to be a stretch, literally. Take a person who doesn't watch or know anything about BJJ and try to explain how that leg is supposed to make its way under the chin. Yeah, it's definitely a wild technique, and not many fighters at even the highest level make attempts at this one. Obviously, the most famous example is Nick Diaz's win over Takanori Gomi, but we'd wager that a sizable chunk of fighters in the UFC wouldn't even have the dexterity to get this one locked in, especially in the heat of battle. And that just makes it all the more impressive and worthy of a spot on this list. Number 5. The Flying Armbar. Considering the range of crazy knockouts she's picked up over the years, newcomers to the sport might be surprised to learn that Rose Namajunas is primarily a grappler by trade. In her earliest days, her main route to victory involved her dynamic use of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and prior to her signing with the UFC, she managed to become a minor viral sensation thanks to this very flashy flying armbar. And it's one hell of a technique that not many fighters will have the athleticism to pull off. It was because of the attention she earned with this win that Rose eventually earned her spot in the Ultimate Fighter house and eventually went on to fight for the inaugural strawweight title. And while she would come up short in the final to Carla Esparza, over the years that followed, she would eventually grow into one of the all-time greats of women's MMA. Number 4. The omoplata. Few submissions look quite as painful as the omoplata, and this entry is quite a good example of how you can really use one to fight for the tab. We've already touched on the twister, which is as painful looking as it gets, but while we do see omoplatas used often in transition or in not overly threatening situations at the highest level of MMA, to see one cinched up and followed through for the tap is a pretty neat occurrence. This is one of those submissions that you show someone who knows next to nothing about BJJ just to give them a sense of how dense and technical things can get when it comes to causing your opponent's pain. Number 3. The Reverse Triangle Choke. Jorge Masvidal recently left his gloves in that Miami octagon at UFC 287, walking away from the sport after an incredibly long and successful career. And while he has many highlights in his catalog, getting reverse triangle by Toby Imada is probably a moment he'd rather forget. You gotta give credit to Imada though. This was one hell of a maneuver. Even if you know absolutely nothing about grappling, it's pretty clear how this submission works. See George get choked out like that with this specific move? Yeah, it's one hell of a visual. And this would be the last time Gamebird would get finished until 11 years later when Kamaru Usman knocked him out cold. I mean, look, we're not trying to say that Masvidal has some real style when it comes to getting stopped, but it definitely takes something special to get him out of there. Number 2, the flying triangle choke. Love him or hate him, Paddy Pimblett certainly knows his way around a solid grappling exchange. And in his very early clip from his pre-UFC days as a Cage Warriors prospect, Paddy earned himself his first viral moment when he vaulted himself into this audacious flying triangle choke. Flying submissions in general are pretty rare, and against most high-level opponents, they're a little too risky to ever pull off. But on the regional circuit, when you have the athleticism and BJJ game of a Paddy Pimblett or Thug Rose, why not line your highlight reel with an early display of flashy submission skills? Well, that's what Paddy Pimblett did, and it certainly put his name on a lot of people's radars. Number 1, the scissor choke. And finally, we come to one more incredibly rare piece of BJJ wizardry. This Kim Kutcher and Sheila Bird matchup was a total farce when it came to the referee's performance. How he didn't manage to see that Kutcher was out cold is beyond us. But either way, using a choke like this is a pretty unorthodox technique, although the nature of this particular finish really does overshadow what should have been a memorable moment. We've seen this technique used on very rare occasions in the past, but as far as we can tell, it has yet to be fully executed in the UFC. A rare move that really can produce some confusion in your opponent, and in this case, the officiating referee. In conclusion, the realm of mixed martial arts, MMA, is a dynamic and ever-evolving sport where the most unexpected and rare submissions can turn the tide of a fight in an instant. These submissions not only showcase the technical prowess and creativity of fighters, but also highlight the depth of training and strategy involved in the sport. From the innovative Sulo stretch to the legendary twister, each rare submission holds a unique place in MMA history, offering fans unforgettable moments of brilliance. As the sport continues to grow, we can only anticipate the emergence of new spectacular submissions that will further captivate audiences and solidify the legacy of MMA as a canvas for martial artistry and innovation. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of some of the rarest submissions in MMA. Stay tuned for more thrilling and insightful content from the world of combat sports. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.